So that's why this smaller area, compared to this, is underneath this. All right, setting up the systems. I brought up this screen because this is the stored location screen. This is significant because some of these things you're going to be able to do while in motion. And if you set them up ahead of time, it makes your life a lot easier when you're actually on a trip. If you practiced, it makes your life much easier. Set up some memory points for yourself. Memory points can be entered manually by entering an address and then going in and storing the location through the menus. But memory points can also be entered by pressing on, there's a little red push pin icon that will come up when you touch on the map. If you push that push pin, and granted it doesn't truly look like a little push pin, but it's intended to be a round-headed, steel-bodied push pin on a street representation. Those can all be accessed while driving, either from the menu or from touching them and setting them as a destination on the map while moving. You can set avoid areas. I'll always offer some caution because it takes avoid areas very seriously, and if you accidentally set an area to avoid, it won't ever let you use it again until you go turn off the avoid. So use that with great care. Destinations and waypoints. I'm going to talk a little bit about reviewing your waypoints. The GPS is very specific about how it wants you to pass by a destination to arrive at it officially and end your trip. If you don't get close enough to the destination, it's never going to cancel out your trip and say your trip is finished. So the next time you get in your car, it's going to keep trying to take you back to where you went the last time, so you're sure that that's gone. And the same thing for waypoints. And frankly, waypoints are even more finicky than destinations are. So I'll teach you how to cancel out of guidance destinations, and I'll teach you how to make sure you're only down to 0 waypoints, which is what you want to be at the end of your trip. This is the button you use to set your home destination for the home icon on the enter destination screen. Previous destination is a pretty neat one because it saves you some data entry. Let's say you're on a trip, you've arrived at your hotel for the night, you unload the bags, you're hungry, you want to go get a bite to eat. Off you go to the nearest restaurant. When you come out of the restaurant, you remember that you don't know how to get back to your hotel because you found it using the AAA guidebook or you saw it right off the highway and now you've ventured into the middle of the town. To get yourself back, all you have to do is, on the enter destination screen, press the previous destination button and it's going to bring you up a list. And at the very, very top is your previous start point. You can push that, set it as a destination, and you're on your way. Preset destinations are actually the 5 buttons at the bottom of the main menu screen, and when there's nothing in them, they're grayed out 1 through 5. When you've actually entered a destination and stored it as a preset, someplace that you go frequently or someplace if you're on a trip and you've got a couple of places that you want to see, but you don't know what order you're going to go to them in, enter in the preset destinations and they'll pop up. They are also available while driving, while the vehicle is in motion. There are 10 basic means of entering a destination into your navigation system. Some of them available while in motion, some of them not. These are the preset destinations that I was referring to. On my navigation system, number 5 is always the National Corvette Museum. Got my home screen there. So basically the 10 methods are address, point of interest, select from map, emergency destinations, which it will read the latitude and longitude of the GPS signal, and it will route you by pressing that button. You will have a choice of the nearest hospital, nearest police station, or nearest service facility. Memory points are the push-pin locations we talked about, previous destination we talked about. This is the screen you're going to interact with most frequently. This is the number 1 menu, as we talked about earlier. This is menu 1 of 2 in the enter destination feature. Menu 2 of 2 has a couple of other neat. How many people knew you could enter a destination by entering a phone number? Good? Good, some people have seen it. For all of the points of interest that were willing to pay the fee to get their phone number into the database, they have a phone number listed and it's tied to that point of interest and it's tied to that business address. You enter the phone number from this screen and it will confirm is this the address that you want to go to. You set it as a destination and tell it to turn on guidance. And the last is by latitude and longitude, typical GPS coordinates. So we actually do have the ability to geocache if we want to in our Corvette. But I think many people are going off-road with the Corvette, or at least I hope not. you've got the option. Oh, and we will go in a second. And further refined with the home location, 5 preset destinations, and interaction with the map screen. So, does everybody know that you have to have the DVD of your destination in the GPS when you're starting to plan a trip? All right, fantastic, because if you don't, you'll never get there. If you are in Massachusetts or you are in Kentucky and you want to go to California, put the west disc in your unit. Once you've entered your destination, you can take out the DVD and put back in the east disc. And the reason that's significant is because you don't want to lose the points of interest, restaurants and banks and emergency facilities and repair facilities and hotels. You don't want to lose that important data for the first part of your trip. So I prefer, if I'm going from east to west, I'll put in the west, I will enter the information for my destination, and then I'll put the east back in. The reason you can do that is all of the major freeways are actually on both, but it doesn't get down to address-specific information or points of interest. So put the west unit in, do your thing, put the east unit back in so you can get your POIs back and do everything that you need to do so you can interact with the unit along the way. The searchable area, this is the next most frequent problem that I see people encountering. I'm going to show you a pretty neat screen in one of the next 2 slides. Searchable area is going to use the entire selected region to start. So if you're in a very large geographic region, and like I was talking to you before, if you put in Main Street, it's going to look for Main Street in every city and every town that's in that geographic region. It makes the search take longer, and it makes your chances of finding your Main Street even less likely. So narrow your search criteria whenever possible. Jenna, could you advance for me? Thank you very much. So the next 2 screens are going to talk a little bit about that. How many people, when they're trying to go someplace, enter the street first? How many people enter the city first? Fantastic, you all get gold stars. Definitely want to always try, when entering an address, provide as much accurate, and I've stressed the word accurate. If you're not positive, don't put it in because the GPS doesn't know any better. But provide as much accurate information as you have available. So when you're trying to get to Main Street, here we've entered in Main Street, and within this database, this geographic region that the GPS was set up for, there are 202 Main Streets available. However, if I put in Bowling Green first and say I want to find Main Street, it's narrowed it down to 6. Very, very, very important. Narrow the search area as much as you can with as much accurate information as you have available. I strongly encourage everyone to use the quick POIs. This is the quick POI screen. The tutorial that you're going to get talks about how to get to it. Your owner's manual will reference it and talk about how to get to it. But you have 5 point of interest icons that you can display on your map full time, and you can choose from a lot of categories. In my case, I've got ATMs, very important, hotels, grocery stores, restaurants, and gas stations. So those are my big 5 when I'm on a trip. And my wife and I used to live in Massachusetts. We would drive to Bowling Green frequently. This was what we referenced on the way down. The GPS has gotten us back and forth, 1,201 miles, door to door, multiple times. It's never, ever steered us wrong. So that's why I'm more of a fan of it than most people are. Also, you can list additional categories to bring up other than just these. You can put in parks and recreations, you can put in gym, repair facilities. This is a neat button also. When you're at a hotel and you're trying to decide where you want to go for dinner, you don't want to just bring up all restaurants. You can press the All Local POI button, and it's going to bring up a list of all of the point of interest categories, and list them in order from closest to furthest away to your location at that point. So if you're sitting in the hotel parking lot, hit the all local POIs button, it's going to bring up a list from 0.1 miles to 500 miles away from you, as long as you're patient enough to sit and scroll through all of those screens of 10 at a time. And it's going to give you some choices that you can go to. Neat thing about the points of interest, they're a little bit easier to interact with on the map than some other databases, because it gives you sort of what it is. And if they've paid, for example, there's a little miles icon. And there's a Shell station, so if you prefer to only use Shell gas. There's an Italian restaurant, and on and on. This looks horrible, and this is why a lot of people get frustrated. So this is my screen that I call form versus function. These two map screens are the exact same screen, the exact same geographic location, on the exact same address. The difference being, this scale is at 1 mile, that scale is at a half mile. You can spread those out by going the other way, 1/4 mile, 1/8 mile, 1/16 mile. And you can make them get smaller and see more of your map if you want to show 1 mile, 2 miles, up to 128 miles can be displayed. But everybody says, oh, they clutter the screen, I can't see anything, I can't see what's coming up. One click of that arrow will turn them off. One click of that arrow will turn them back on, and you'll always have them at your disposal. Now this screen is significant. I'm going to stay on it for a second. We're going to talk about it again as it comes up. But a couple of things that we talked about earlier. That's the nasty GPS signal that you don't want to see. That's telling you that your GPS is not receiving satellite data. And as I said, it'll continue to navigate it. It'll take you places based on its dead reckoning capability. But it's not getting signal, and it's not going to update. So you're notice that you don't have an estimated time on the route, you only have a distance because it's having a hard time figuring out where it is to tell you when you're going to get to where you're going. The arrows that are up on the screen here allow you to interact with the nav screen a little bit. There we go. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Search terms can be generic. For example, if you want to find Holiday Inns, if you just type in the word holiday in the point of interest, this is from the enter destination menu. This is enter destination by point of interest. You don't have it displayed on your screen. You want to just type it in, and you prefer to only stay at Holiday Inns. You don't have to know its address to enter it. You can do a generic search term. If you want to find a pizza place, you can type in the word pizza, and any point of interest that has the word pizza in its name. You can type in the word grill, and it'll take you to Montana Grill, for example. If you want to find Holiday Inns, type in the word holiday. And back to what I was talking about narrowing the search criteria. There are 264 holiday somethings in this geographic region. However, there's only one in Bowling Green. So if you're trying to get to Holiday Inn Convention Center in the city of Bowling Green, Kentucky, you're sure to find it this way. Catch as catch can, that way.
Paul, can you hold the microphone up a little?
Up? Better?
Yeah, much better.
I'm finding it getting further and further away from me because I just despise microphones. All right. This is some of the interacting with the nav screen that I wanted to talk about. When you've got the little restaurant icon there, this is a great little barbecue place, by the way, out in Allenton, if you've never been there. I pass it every night on the way home, which is never good for me. The Split Tree Barbecue. If you have this map screen up, you would have just seen the little square with the fork and the knife on it. If you click on that, its name comes up. From there, you can make it a destination, you can make it a waypoint, you can save it as a POI. So there's a lot of things you can do, and it's also telling me that it's 4.3 miles from where I was at that time. If you click on the info button, this is what you get. It'll confirm what it is, it'll actually give you its address, and hey, cool, you can call ahead and get takeout. How many people use the point of interest info button? How many people are going to use the point of interest info button now? Excellent. advance for me? Thank you. Again, scrolling the map. You can pick a destination simply by indexing the map. You can press your finger on the map. It's going to cause this cursor to come up. It's going to cause these arrows to come up. And it's going to bring up these two buttons down the bottom. This is the push pin. I know it doesn't look like a push pin. Yeah, but I promise it's a push pin. This is intended to be the head of the push pin, the body of the push pin, and you're pushing it into a map. That's why it's that feature set. Once you've clicked on the map, the first place your cursor pops up, the GPS figures you want to go someplace. Maybe you want to go there. You can choose it as a destination. You can choose it as a waypoint. If you don't want to go there, you can rotate the map. Pressing on the two arrows are going to cause the map to rotate on this axis. If you scroll on the screen, it's going to cause the cursor to index that way. If you press on the left-hand side of the screen, the cursor is going to go to the left, the map is going to scroll to the right. So depending upon where you're set up, in this case, north is showing up. So if you're pressing over here, you're going to be telling the map you want to go west from this general location. And you can move all around the map. Once you find something that you want to go to, or you get a road that you recognize or a city name that you recognize, press it, choose either as a destination or as a waypoint, select calculate your route, choose your route, and off you go to navigate. All right, I had a couple of gentlemen that I talked at length with about route options. This next part's just for you. When you choose a route, everybody knows that the system comes up and it asks you to choose your route guidance. You can change the route that you have selected, and it's letting you know that there's 3 choices, and if you're satisfied with it, it's basically your first turn is 138 miles, your total trip is 1,091 miles, and it's going to take you 15 hours and 33 minutes to get there. So all of this information is being displayed based on the route that you've selected. Here's the info for the 3 routes. You can bring up an info button once you've selected your routes, and you do that by clicking on the 3 routes and then choosing the info. In this case, we have a quick route, a normal route, and a short route. Understand, GPSs are very literal. I recommend to most people the normal route is the way to go. It doesn't understand that you don't want to drive down dirt roads. It doesn't understand that you don't want to go through undesirable city areas. It doesn't understand construction. So the normal route is going to be the major route that's not necessarily the fastest, not necessarily the shortest, but it's a good, safe, normal route to take you to your destination. These icons over here are telling you how long your trip's going to take. It's going to tell you how many miles door to door, and it's going to talk about when your first interaction with the trip is, how many miles on the highway, how many miles on the ferry, and how many miles on time-restricted roads. So all of this information is available to you. You can scan it really quickly. And if you have a general idea, knowing where you're going, and you know that you're not getting on a ferry as part of your trip, but you look down here, and it's telling you that you're going to ride 75 miles on a ferry across Long Island Sound, for example, something went wrong. And surprisingly, a lot of people don't utilize this screen, and they get started on a trip and they want to know why the thing keeps telling them to turn left when they know the highway's right there. I drove past 3 freeway on-ramps on my way to where I was going. I could have gotten on any one of them, but it kept telling me no. One of these things might be why. Route options. Route preferences, destinations and waypoints. Display route is very, very significant. Did you know you can actually bring up your turn-by-turn list as the trip is planned and preview it on your nav screen? Anybody? How many people? Show of hands. There it is, display route. Did you know that once you enter your route, you can press route preview, and the nav screen will actually start the trip. And you can play it, fast forward it, pause it, rewind it, and the little arrow is just going to run along, and the map is going to scroll, and it does it at an accelerated pace. And you can follow right along your trip, and you can see which highways it's taking you on, you can see where it's moving you to. All with the route preview button. How many people knew that? Good. How many people wanted that but couldn't find it? How many people are going to use it now? All right. Did you know that Garmins don't do that? The new ones, do they? All right. I'm going to rely on you. You've got a Garmin. So you're going to all right, you're going to correct me when I say things like that, because I have an older Garmin. My Garmin won't do that. Okay. That's right. I can't do that. Route preferences button. Allow major roads. Please select it. When you go back to your car, find this button. Press it. Make it light blue, not black. Allow major roads. Major roads are freeways. Major roads are very important on long cross-country trips. Definitely, please make use of major roads. I strongly encourage it. Allow toll roads, very important. Allow ferry, not as much important. Allow time-restricted road, not as much important. Time-restricted roads don't come into play very much anymore in the United States. However, for whatever reason, there's the feature. Route preview. Look at that. Press on route preview. Here's where I'm starting. Little house in altitude. Press on route preview. You can play it forward, play it backwards, pause it, rewind it, slow or quick, and edit it. You preview it along and you see it's taking you across a bridge that you don't want to go across. Anybody coming down from New York, that would be the Tappan Zee Bridge. You don't want to go across that because it's bumpy. Terribly uncomfortable road. Oops. Oh.